So here what will happen, let's say day by day, actually whatever activity you are doing, let's say you are doing any meetings, then you are scheduling any kinds of, let's say, plan. So whatever, let's say, you are doing, you can collect some data. Okay, you can get some data. Let's say you have some meeting data, you have your reminder, whatever daily task you usually do, you have some documents here. Okay, you have some custom documents. So what you can do, you can build a rag on top of that. Let's say you don't remember what is your, let's say, reminder today, or let's say what is your task for tomorrow. So what you can do, you can ask to your personal productivity assistant, and this assistant will try to suggest you, let's say, tomorrow what are the schedule you have, what are the plan you have, everything it will try to give you the answer. Or let's say you have done one meetings, in the meeting so many discussion what happened, okay, but you don't remember all of them. What you can do, you can collect the meeting transcript and you can get the data. Okay, and you can also integrate the rag with that. So what is the architecture? So first of all, let's say we have the custom documents. So first of all, what we'll do, we'll try to create a chunks. Okay, we'll try to create a chunks, because you know that LLM has some input limitation. So that's why we have to create the chunks. We can't pass the entire data to the large language models. Chunks will give you different small kinds of chunks, and these chunks will try to convert it to the vector embedding. So here we'll be using one embedding model. Embedding model. So in case you can use any embedding model, you can use OpenAI embedding model. You can also use some Hugging Face embedding model. No issue with that. So here I'll be using OpenAI embedding model. So after getting the embedding model, what we'll do, guys, we'll try to generate the vector embedding. Vector embedding. And this vector embedding, we have to store somewhere to perform the retrieval operation. So we'll be using vector database here. Vector database. And in case we'll be using ChromaDB. You can also use Fires, then you can also use Web8, Pinecone. No issue with that. And this is going to be my knowledge base. Okay, knowledge base. Fine, that means first of all we have the documents, then we'll be creating the chunks. This particular chunks, what we'll do, we'll try to generate, we'll be using the embedding model, then we'll be creating the vector embedding, we'll store in the knowledge base. Okay, that means in the vector database. Now if anyone is asking any kinds of query, let's say this is the user. Let's say user is asking one query, and this retriever will give you some retrieve output. Okay, retrieve output, that means some rank results. Ranked results. Okay, so here you have one parameter called k. Let's say k is equal to 3. It will give you 3 relevant answer, but this answer is not readable. What we have to do, we have to use LLM, large language model, and we'll pass the response to the large language model. Also this query will pass to the large language model, and large language model will give you the actual response. Actual response. Okay, by referring your knowledge base, that means the retrieve output. Okay, whatever you are giving, that means what we are doing, let's say this is your LLM. So here you are passing the context. Okay, also you are passing the query. So LLM will try to refer the context. Okay, let's say the context is about Python. Okay, and you have, let's say, asked one question. Let's say what is Python. First of all, it will refer the context, then it will give you the query. Okay, so just you can consider, let's say if I'm giving you 10 different cat books, and if I tell you what is cat, so first of all you will be reading about the cat. You have enough amount of context right now regarding the cat, then you will be able to give me the response. Okay, so this is what actually we are doing. So we are getting the knowledge base. This knowledge base we are passing as a context to the LLM, and whatever question user is asking, okay, it will try to return. Apart from the question, if you are also asking anything, let's say hi, how are you, and all, this will also give you the response with respect to that. So this is the entire system, guys, we'll try to develop. Now to implement the system, what are the technology we're going to use? First of all, let me write here. See, for the front end part, front end of our application, we'll be using Flask. So we'll be creating a web application with the help of Flask. Okay, for the backend, we'll be using Python and LangChain. For database wise, that's in vector database, we'll be using ChromaDB. Then LLM wise, will be using GPT. Okay, GPT-4 will be using. You can also use GPT 3.5 and all. And for this, we'll be using OpenAI. And for environment credential, we'll be using python.env. Python.env. Okay, with the help of that, we'll try to load the OpenAI secret, or let's say any other secret you're mentioning, we'll try to load it. And whenever we'll try to deploy the project, we also need to download the env file. For this, we'll be using gdown. Okay, so with the help of gdown, you can download anything from the Google Drive. That means we'll be keeping this .env file in the Google Drive, and from there we'll try to download, because you know that we can't directly upload any kinds of env file in the GitHub. Okay, GitHub will give you the issue. So for this, we'll be getting the env file from the Google Drive itself. Okay, this is the idea. I'll tell you, okay, whatever things I'm talking about, I'll tell you in practical. Definitely you will be able to understand. Okay, great. And to deploy this project, we'll be using CI/CD approach. Deployment, we'll be using CI/CD approach. So here we'll be using CI/CD. That is continuous integration, continuous delivery. So here what will happen, if you are uploading your code, to the GitHub, okay, GitHub will automatically trigger the CI/CD pipeline. Okay, CI pipeline, CI/CD pipeline, and this application will deploy over the AWS cloud. Okay, AWS cloud. This is the entire pipeline we'll be implementing. And for this, we'll be using some service, like we'll be using AWS, we'll be using ECR, Elastic Container Registry, we'll be using Docker. Okay, Docker for containerization. Okay, we'll be creating the Docker image. Then we'll be using IAM service for the this one, access management. And here we'll be using GitHub, okay, to perform the code management, and we'll be using GitHub Action for the CI/CD tool. So these are the service guys we'll be using, okay, one by one. And what will be the project folder structure? So folder structure wise, here we'll be creating a backend folder. Backend folder. Inside backend, we'll keep some backend file, like we'll be keeping the data ingestion, ingest data. So this will create the this one. It will load the documents. It will create the vector embedding, and it will save as a this one database file. So this particular file we'll try to create ingest data.py. Then we'll be creating another file called model.py. So this will load the model as well as the this vector store object, and it will return you the retriever. Okay. Then apart from that, we'll be also creating a file called static. So inside static, we'll keep the Flask related code. So it will have the style.css. So here we'll create a basics UI, user interface. So for this, we need CSS code, and we also need a app.js file, okay, JavaScript file, because if you are using CSS and HTML, so you also need this JS file. And if you are not familiar with this kinds of HTML, CSS, no need to worry. Okay, you can get this kinds of code over the internet. There are so many template provider, you can already download from there. Okay, then we'll be creating another folder called template. So inside template, we'll try to keep a file called index.html. Okay, so this index.html will contain the user interface structure, like how you are going to create the front end part. So that HTML code we'll try to write here. Then I think I can write it here. We'll create a env file. Inside that, we'll keep the credential. Then we'll try to create our endpoint called app.py. Then we'll create a Docker file here, because we'll try to create the Docker image, containerize our application. That's why we need it. Then we need a requirement.txt, requirements.txt. Okay, txt file. And apart from that, for the deployment, we need .github folder. Okay, I'll show you whenever we'll try to do the deployment. That time I'll show you what are the folders and files you need. As of now, this is the folder structure we'll try to create, guys. Okay, and before that, let me create a GitHub repository. Then we'll try to create all the files one by one.